How is everyone today? Great. It's good to hear. Now, I would like to call this meeting to order. Thank you for joining us during our weekly hybrid MLS breakfast meeting. My name is CK, and I am your April program chair for the last time. Help me welcome Mackenzie Hong of Morrison Plus Property Inspections, who will be our moderator for today and will be introducing the popular. And we'll be introducing our panelists.
Alrighty, we're going to be doing a affiliate panel today on dollars and cents, financial and estate planning. So let me introduce the first panelist. It is Tiffany Wenzel from JP Morgan Private Bank. Second panelist is Henry Wang from Law Office of Henry Wang. Our third panelist is Sam Yu, our financial advisor. All right, how's everybody doing today? You guys good? You guys excited to answer some good questions? Are they nervous? So you excited or no?
Huh?
You excited?
Yeah.
I
need to use the restroom, but I'm holding it.
It's okay. It's okay. All right. We'll get it started then. All right. First question is, what are the stages of wealth planning?
So you have your early, which is accumulation. That's when you have basic retirement planning, basic business and estate planning. So you start thinking
Awesome.
about those things. Mid, which is your preservation. So your debt consolidation, you have accumulated enough for investments in real estate, and you establish your family wealth plan strategies. And there's your late, which is diversification. So once you have your plan in place, you would diversify into not just one, not just two investments. So you mitigate your risk.
Awesome.
And then the last one would be retirement transition, which you would be annuitizing and legacy planning. So enjoying your retirement and spending what you've made and planning for your next generation.
Nice. Very nice. Those sound like pretty easy steps in going through wealth planning. All right. Next question is for you, Henry. What is the goal of a proper estate plan?
So you have to bear with me. I'm not used to using a microphone, but I'll try. So in short, the proper goal of an estate plan is to make sure you pass on your wealth to your future generations. And with a proper estate plan, you also want to maximize your tax benefits and also to avoid probate. Having a trust would definitely be the best way to avoid probate. Having a will alone does not avoid probate at all. And what is probate? Probate is the legal process by which you have to go to the court, and the court will appoint someone to be the administrator or executor of your estate to make sure that those assets are then passed on to your future generations. But it's a court process, and it has costs, and it also takes quite a bit of time, 12 months to 18 months typically for a standard probate procedure, but it could be longer depending on the circumstances. And also having a proper estate plan also will help you to avoid friction and disputes amongst family members. Future generations, people tend to fight about money. That's sometimes why families break up. And also an estate plan also covers things like incapacity. So who gets to make decisions for you if you were incapacitated, or who makes medical decisions for you when that time comes. So estate plan will cover all of that.
Awesome. That's a great answer. All right, Sam, our financial advisor. What are the steps that I need to take to build wealth for the future, and how do I take control of my finances?
Well, thank you for inviting me here. First thing, that's actually not my phone number.
Oh.
My area code is 626, so everything else is right.
I'll talk to my people.
Yeah.
My bad.
Okay, so how do we actually build wealth for the future, and how do we take control of our finances? Well, the first thing is you got to change your thinking. None of this matters here unless you have the proper thinking, right? We can learn everything about finances, but if your thinking is wrong, if you think you can't do it, that's true, right? You heard the statement like, if you think you can, you can. You think you can't, you can't. So if you think, yeah, I'm too old, I can't, put money away. Well, yeah, that's what you think, then that's true. If you think I can actually put enough money away to become financially independent, that's true also. So the first thing is to change your thinking, right? That you can actually become financially independent and wealthy and save for the future. The next is your priorities and your lifestyle. So what is your priorities? What is important to you? So do you really need the new iPhone every year and buy a new iPhone every year, the new fangled gadgets every year? No, right? But some people think they
Maybe.
do, right? So they spend all this money on this new tech and gadget every year. And you got to actually, figure out what is your priority. Is buying that new iPhone your priority, or is it saving money and having financial security important? Now, the next thing is to realign your assets. So one of the things is you got to figure out where you can put your money to earn the highest rate of return, the highest interest rate. So there are actually a lot of vehicles out there where you can actually earn higher interest rate. And I know like a lot of people, they're worried about risk, so they put their money in the bank. But as you know, the banks don't give you a lot of interest, right? So there's actually a lot of stuff out there to give you a higher interest. Number 3, avoid the credit trap. So I'll talk more about that later, but try to stay out of debt.
Mhm.
And the last thing is the 3 fundamental accounts. Now, I don't know if any of you actually know about this, but everyone should have 3 fundamental accounts. And what are they? Number 1, emergency fund. It's for rainy day. So you need to have at least 3 to 6 months of monthly income in a savings account in case of emergency. For those that are like, us, we're independent contractors, we're self-employed, we might need like 9 to 12 months because our incomes fluctuate depending on how our business is doing. So you might have to have a larger emergency fund.
Mm.
Next one is this short-term account, which is for your short-term goals. Like, you maybe want to save some money for vacation, maybe down payment for a house, maybe buy a car or something like that. And then the last account that we all have to have is the long-term account, right? That's the account you need to have for your future, right? So that you don't have to work all the way to 100, right? So those are the 3 fundamental accounts that you need to have.
Awesome. That was a great answer. I think that's a good way to think about it. Simplifying things to be financially free. It's important, especially now. All right, Tiffany, second question for you. What are the key interests, or excuse me, what are the key increases in retirement account and gift tax exclusion amounts?
Okay, so for those of you who work under a corporation or a business who offers 401ks, the maximum is 23,000. For IRAs, for people who are under 50, it's 7,000. For people who are over 50, it's 8,000. So that's the catch up.
Yeah.
Annual gift exclusion is 18,000 for a single person and 36,000 for married couple. Your maximum lifetime is 13.61 million. So anything above that for now until the sunsetting of 2025, anything above that is subject to around a 40% estate tax. So you get double whammied.
It's a lot.
Income and estate tax.
That's a lot. All right, next question for Henry. What is the cost of probate?
Yeah, I get this question a lot. So a common refrain from people who want us to avoid doing estate planning was that they'll say that, hey, it's going to go to my children anyways, so why do I need to do a trust? If it needs to go through probate, I'll go through probate. The truth is that probate has a lot of costs, and the costs are statutory, meaning they're mandatory and paid out of the estate. So, for example, the way the statutory fees work, it's the first 100,000 is charged at 4%, and that's 4% to the lawyer and 4% to the executor. The next 100,000 is charged at 3%, and the next 800,000 is charged at 2%, and the next 9 million is charged at 1%. And I think it goes further, but you sort of get the idea behind it. So typically, a $1 million estate will cost the estate $46,000. Just out of probate fees. And that's in addition to the waiting time that you're going to have to wait while it goes through the court process. And just to be clear, that when I say $1 million estate, I mean gross amount. So it's not after. So for example, if you own $1 million home and you have a $600,000 mortgage, the cost of probate is still based off $1 million. It's not based off of 400,000. So you can imagine that if you have $1 million home and you pay off that mortgage, and then you take another 46,000 out of that just for the probate costs, it can become pretty substantial for your future generations to bear that burden. So, so that's something to think about. And also there's extraordinary costs associated with probate. Typically, for example, if there's any type of dispute, right? If disputes between family members about who gets to be the executor, that happens, especially if you don't have a will. And if there's a complex tax issue or a complex real estate issue, that can also incur extraordinary fees. And I'll tell you right now, as lawyers, our mindset kind of shifts when we do probate versus doing estate planning, right? For estate planning clients, we want to know what your goals are. We want to maximize your benefits to make sure that your assets can be distributed. But when it comes to probate, we just want to make sure that all your assets are properly distributed according to your wishes. So our thinking shifts a little bit.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. All right, Sam, your second question. What is one of the biggest threats to your financial security, and what can be done about it?
So I already mentioned it a little earlier. What is the biggest threat to your financial security is debt. So a lot of people have debt, and debt is actually one of the biggest risks to you when it comes to saving money and putting money away for yourself. So I'm recently seeing like the average credit card interest rates now are almost approaching 30% right now. So a lot of people are, because of the economy, are basically using credit cards just to get by. And so people are putting themselves in a lot of debt. And once you get in debt, it's really hard to crawl out of it. So if you're not in debt right now, great. Don't get into it, right? And if you're in debt, figure out a way to get out of debt as soon as possible, because nothing feels better than being debt-free, right? So what can we do to get out of debt? So there's actually like two methods to actually getting out of debt. One of them is debt consolidation. So you can actually consolidate your debt, but consider, instead of consolidating your debt and then just paying the lower monthly fees, consider actually consolidating your debt and then keep paying the same amount of money that you are already paying on your debt. If you do that, then you will actually pay off that debt sooner, right? Another thing is to create a plan to actually figure out what debt you want to pay off the quickest, and then figure out, like, once you pay that debt off, what you do is what I call debt stacking. And Dave Ramsey also talks about that. He calls it the debt snowball effect. So what you do is you actually list all your debt, and when one debt gets paid off, you take that monthly payment to that debt and you stack it on to the next debt. So now that the second debt, you're actually paying more. So what happens? That debt gets paid off also sooner. Now, once that debt gets paid off, you take all that money you were paying on that second debt, stack it on to the third debt. So now you see how that turns into a snowball effect, and your debt gets paid off sooner, and you don't even have to pay more money to actually get out of debt. You just pay the same amount. You just have to make sure that you're disciplined to do that.
That's good. That's good. I think a lot of people need to be disciplined in trying to pay off their debts, because I mean, people need things now. But yeah. Third question for you, Tiffany. I'm ready to invest. What should I do? Or what should I put my money in? Sorry.
So I just wanted to piggyback off of what Henry said earlier about the probate, which is the gross amount. So for the estate taxes,
Mhm.
I mean, the estate taxes, the 13.61 million is the gross amount as well. So 40% off of even the debt that you owe.
Mhm.
So what should you invest in? Based off of Sam's allocation, like the bucketing of what you should do, your 3 accounts, you have your short-term goals and you have your long-term goals. There's a variety of different solutions for each of your goals. So it's based on your individual, time horizon, your individual goals, and your risk tolerance. So how much risk can you take? By investing in real estate, you're diversifying your risk to the stock market, interest rates, geopolitical risk. A portion of that should be diversified into the real estate. But if you have retirement accounts or just cash sitting in the bank, like Sam said, interest rates are not going to be able to help you retire.
Yeah.
So you're in your early accumulation and your mid preservation, you should be able to take a little more risk than if you were nearing retirement. So early planning is very important. There are different portfolios, different insurance strategies that can help you achieve that.
Awesome. Great. That's great. All right, Henry, geez. Third question. What about just adding my beneficiary to my property? Would that avoid probate?
This is something also I see a lot as well. A lot of clients will come to me, and then it's usually after the fact, they've already added their maybe son or daughter to their property as a co-owner, as a joint tenant. And the thought process behind it is, why don't I just add them now? And this way I can avoid probate, because as a joint tenant, they'll inherit the property anyways. And I'll say this, I'm very much against people owning property together who are not married or who are not, partners. Typically, I see a lot of issues and problems that can't be reversed down the line if you want to take somebody off title. You'll face reassessment issues and just a lot of difficulties from getting loans and just different things that can pop up. So I'm against joint ownership unless you're married to that person. Now, the other thing that you want to keep in mind is when you inherit property through this method of basically adding them on as a joint tenant instead of going through a trust, you don't get a step-up basis in taxes, and that could be substantial. So for example, if you inherit property today from your parents, 2024, and they brought the property back in 1994, and you sell the property today, you're going to be paying capital gains taxes based on the price that was bought in 1994. But if you inherit it through a trust, you would get a step-up basis. So if you sold it today, you would zero out because you got a step-up basis. So you can think about the tax savings there. So again, trust is a better way to go. You may want to think about that before you just doing adding somebody to title.
I have a question. I have a question now. Sorry. Never mind, I'll save it for later. 3, Sam.
Mhm.
Is life insurance important, and how does it factor into your plan to build wealth for the future?
So yes, life insurance is actually very important for your financial future, but it's really more towards protecting your family. So the thing about life insurance is that the purpose is to protect your income. It really shouldn't be called life insurance. It really should be called income protection, because if something happens to you, your family is going to lose that income that you were bringing into your household, right? So you want to make sure that you can replace that income. So the thing about life insurance is you don't actually need it forever. Okay, you don't need life insurance forever. So there's something called the theory of decreasing responsibility, where when you're young and you have young kids, you have debt and everything like that, and you haven't saved a lot of money. So if anything happens to you, your family could be in big trouble because there's not a lot of money for your families to keep paying their bills. So that's when you actually need the life insurance. But as you get older and you start putting money away for your future, you start saving all this money. Your kids grow up and hopefully they might move out of the house, right? And your house gets paid off. So if you have all this money, let's say you have $2 million saved, your house is paid off, your kids are on their own, they don't need you anymore. Do you really still need life insurance at that point? So at that point, if anything happens to you, your family still has the $2 million, you still have your house that they can use to take care of the family. So yeah, so life insurance is important, but not as into like saving wealth, but more to protect and preserve your wealth if something happens to you. Another thing is, I'm not sure if anyone ever heard like these social media commercials or something like that called Bank on Yourself or Infinite Banking. So you hear it a lot nowadays where, hey, you can do infinite banking, right? Or you can bank on yourself. So what that is just a fancy way of the life insurance industry to sell you something called a cash value life insurance. Yeah. It's the same thing, right? You just need to figure out a way to market it so that you actually purchase one. Thanks. So the problem with something called cash value life insurance is actually sold to you as a 2-in-1 product, that it's supposed to protect your family if you die, and you're supposed to save money for yourself for the future. The problem with those products is, number one, they don't really offer you very high interest. So like something that's called like a whole life policy, they typically give you anywhere from maybe 4 or 5% interest. But you can definitely find other investments out there that can get much higher than that. Another problem with something like a whole life policy, did you know like the first 2 years, there's no money in your account? So you're paying all this money thinking, oh, I'm saving money and I have insurance. But the first 2 years, there's no money in your account. So all that money's gone, right? I don't care if you get like a 4% guarantee interest. What's 4% on zero? It's still zero, right? Another problem with these cash value policy is the only way to get access to your savings, if you want to use it while you're alive, you got to borrow it. So they're going to charge you interest to borrow your own money. Yeah. Why would you want to borrow your own money and pay interest on it? It's your money, right? But that's what happens if you want to get access to your money from your life insurance. And probably one of the biggest problem with these cash value policy is that if something happens, let's say you pass away, your family gets the death benefit, but that's it. What happened to all the money that you've been saving? It's gone, right? So then you got to be really careful about people who are, pushing you to get like cash value policies or telling you about this brand new program called Bank on Yourself or Infinite Banking. It's just a way for them to sell you more cash value life insurance. So always keep your insurance and your investment separate.
That's some great information right there. I think a lot of people don't know that information and see the value in front of their face and don't ask questions. So it's good knowledge. Tiffany, last question. What financial skills should I focus on with my children in the future? I don't have any.
So I wanted to piggyback off of Sam's previous
Perfect.
statement on borrowing your own money.
Yeah.
So borrowing your own money to invest in investments, the interest could be tax deductible on like investments. So on the earnings of your investment. So there's good debt and there's bad debt.
Yep.
So what financial skills should I focus on my children? Educate them young, establish good spending habits, and teach them about your family governance, like your like how you want to structure your legacy, how you're going to achieve that, and what you're doing with your finances or how you built your finances. So they have a sense of responsibility in your family.
Nice. That's good. I like that. Keep that noted. Number 4, Henry. Are there other benefits to creating a trust?
Yes, there are additional benefits to creating a trust. So other than avoiding probate and maximizing your tax savings, having a trust can help plan for, if you have special needs children, or if you have minor children, you can structure your trust to pay out in a certain way. For example, if you want to get them in what we call ages and stages, a distribution at 25 and then another distribution at 27, 30, and so forth. Or if you have a more unique situation, if you have a child or beneficiary who has trouble staying out of debt, either because they're prone to litigation, bad relationships, what have you, or they just can't stay off the blackjack table, you might want to think about setting up a general needs trust so that their money is managed even after you're gone, so that they won't squander the wealth that you've built. So those are some of the advanced things that you can do with a trust. And as Sam said, debt is sort of the enemy of the enemy of wealth. So you certainly want to be able to set up these things for your beneficiaries if that's something you're concerned about.
Awesome. Thank you. Sam, last question for you. What is the difference between tax deductible, tax deferred, and tax free? And why is it important to know when you're saving for retirement?
Okay, so tax deductible means that when you it actually reduces your taxes. So if you put, like say something like a traditional IRA or a 401k, when you put money in, it reduces how much taxes you have to pay for that year. Tax deferred means that you still have to pay taxes, you just don't have to pay it now, you pay it later. So like with a traditional IRA, when you put money in, the money is tax deferred. So whatever interest you're earning in your IRA, you don't have to pay taxes right now. But once you start withdrawing money, that's when you actually have to pay your taxes. And tax-free, it just means you don't have to pay taxes. So the only thing that's actually tax-free is actually a Roth IRA. So the difference between a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA, traditional IRA is that when you put money in, you get a tax deduction, but when you take money out, you got to pay taxes.
Mm,
A Roth IRA is that when you put money in, you don't get any deductions, anything that you still have to pay your regular income taxes. But when you take money out, when you retire, it's 100% tax free. Same thing can also happen with a 401k. So there's something called like a Roth 401k. So if you have a 401k, see if you actually have some of the Roth option. Yeah, so same thing also with a life insurance. You know, life insurance is actually not tax free. I think a lot of people are pushing a life insurance, telling people, hey, yeah, life insurance is tax free. It's not. It's tax deferred. So if you actually withdraw money from a life, let's say you decided that I don't want my life insurance anymore, I cancel, I take out all my cash value, you got to pay taxes on that.
Mhm.
So the reason why these life insurance agents are telling people, oh, it's tax free, is because you're using the loan option to get access to your cash value. You don't pay taxes on the loan, but you still have to pay interest, right? So that's why it's not really tax free. Another thing is like for the self-employed, for I guess most of us are self-employed or independent contractors. I'm probably sure you all heard about the SEP IRA. So the SEP IRA, you can actually put more money for retirement, but there's also something called a solo K. Anyone ever heard of a solo K before? All right, okay, so not that many people. So a solo K is actually an individual 401k. So if you're self-employed and you decide whether I should set up a SEP IRA, also consider the solo K. So you can actually set up an individual 401k for yourself and get a lot of benefits that a regular 401k would have versus a SEP IRA. So like a solo K, you can even actually have it Roth, while a SEP IRA cannot be Roth. It has to be traditional. Another advantage of the solo K over a SEP IRA is you can typically actually put more money in. Your income doesn't have to be as high to put as much money in for retirement versus a SEP IRA. Because with a SEP IRA, you can only put up to 24% of your income. While a SEP IRA, you can actually max it out, even though your income might not be as high to actually put as much for the SEP IRA. And with the solo K, you can also borrow your money. So like any 401k, you can actually borrow money if you need it. While the SEP IRA, you can't borrow, you have to withdraw, which means you have to pay taxes.
nice, nice. Thank you, Sam. All right, we have time for 3 questions.
I just
If anybody
actually
has any-
wanted to
oh,
add to, I wanted to add to that.
sorry.
I don't know, I don't think you guys know how powerful that is. The Roth IRA, if structured correctly, the income stream coming out of that, there is a way that you can like benefit so much from it after
Sure.
taking out your principal. So whatever you've contributed to that, and then live off of the remainder of the funds tax-free for life.
Mhm.
So there are so many options out there for you guys.
There are definitely a lot of options. Awesome. Thank you, guest speakers, for a very informative panel. Give a hands up for them. All right, we do have time for 3 questions. Got one question. Go ahead.
Thank you for this important information here.
Can-
The question is, what's the latest age that somebody can contribute to a solo K or a SEP Roth IRA? Is it, if you're 75, can you still contribute, or how would that work? And I'm just kind of guessing because I have a lot of clients that might be in that direction. Thank you.
So there is actually no age limit to an IRA or a solo K. The only disadvantage of say like traditional IRAs and regular 401ks is that once you turn 73, you have to start withdrawing money. The Roth, you don't have that problem. So if you have it in a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k, it doesn't matter your age, you can leave the money in there as long as you want. But as long as you have earned income, you could put money into an IRA or a 401k, but it has to be earned income, okay? And it also means that even your baby can put money into an IRA or a Roth IRA if they have earned income, because there's actually no age limit to an IRA or 401. You just have to have earned income.
I don't think people know how to do that though. They got to ask you for that advice, huh? Yeah, that's good. That's good. And anybody else? Any questions? No? Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Once in a while, we have situations where 2, 3, or 4 people are named as the first successor trustee.
Hmm.
What is your opinion regarding having multiple people named as the first successor trustee?
It sort of all depends on the terms of the trust, but I typically am against that approach. I like to have a list of successor trustees, so you can have, someone in the first position and all the way to the fourth. When you have 4 people acting jointly, usually it depends on what it says, but if they have to act in a consensus or act as a majority, that can be quite troublesome. So when it comes to trust administration, if I see a situation where there's multiple trustees listed as in the first position, I will usually ask, a majority of them to step down and just appoint one person as the sole trustee. So it just makes the trust administration much easier. So that if there's any disagreement, it can be resolved much more simplified. Yeah.
I just wanted to add to that. So basically, trust administration services can be outsourced. There are resources out there where if you don't want a family member to be involved, or if you want them to be co-trustees with someone outside who is non-conflicting, that is a possibility as well.
That's good.
I
All
have
right,
a
last question from David.
For Sam. You said earlier that at 73, you're obligated to withdraw from your 401k. So let's say you withdraw for a couple of years and then you die. What happened to that money?
Well, you have a beneficiary, so it goes to the beneficiary.
Okay, who's the name? Okay.
My name. You put my name down. I'll be your
Here's-
beneficiary.
Let me explain
Awesome,
about
thank
that.
you.
Okay, so here in California, any retirement plan, your beneficiary has to be your spouse or your partner. So if you don't want it to be your spouse or your partner, you actually have to get permission from your spouse, and it has to be notarized and it actually change the beneficiary from your spouse or partner to actually a non-partner. So
Nice.
you got to ask them.
That's only if you're changing more than 50%.
Mm.
So you do
That's
not
good.
need their notary signature if it's less than that.
So if I do 49.9%, it's okay.
They can be, yeah,
Oh,
there
okay.
can be 2 beneficiaries, your
good.
spouse and someone else.
Yeah, okay. Awesome. Thank you. Big round of hands for them. It's a good job. Do you have any other questions or concerns? They'll be here so you can speak to them after.
Thank you very much. So next up, we have, it's time for the Bits and Bytes brought to you by the Technology Committee. Let's welcome Thomas Wong and Joseph Haggerty. Thomas first.
Good morning. My name is Thomas Wong, and today's Bits and Bytes is brought to you by the Real Tech Committees. So today's Bits and Bytes is going to be about the podcast. So I apologize. There is a typo on the flyer. It's supposed to be with the S podcast app. So what is a podcast app? It is an app. It's free, and it is already available for you on your Apple device or on your Google Android. So the distinction is the podcast itself. What is a podcast itself? It is a digital audio or video series that is available for you to download, and you can do it in streaming or you are able to download it. So basically it's typically an episode in nature. And then what you can do, you can choose and pick the areas of interest or your topics. So a show of hand who has used the app in the past and has been able to hear an audio. So I don't see that many people. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to have Belen so I can do an AirPlay on my iPhone, and I'll be able to project the app. Belen, I'm doing an AirPlay. Apple 3906. So here is my iPhone. So now I'm going to go to my music group, and I'm going to choose the icon podcast. So in the podcast app, as you can see on the home, you have several options. You have option to choose what kind of topics you are interested. And in my case, my favorite podcast that I chose is going to show on my library. So in my library, I have the CAR Housing Matters. It's basically an app. It's a housing update from the CAR Chief Deputy. You guys probably heard about Jordan Levine, and the other one is Oscar Way. There has been a speaker at the association in the past. So this is one that I use. I'm going to play it right now. So what I do, I just chose Housing Matter. So this is the latest episode from Housing Matter, and I'm just going to play it.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for another Housing Matters podcast. It's your favorite data nerds back with everything you need to know about the housing market and the economy. My name is Jordan Levine. I'm the chief economist here at the California Association of Realtors, and I'm joined as always.
Okay, the other one that is key is from the CAR as well. It's called Unlocking California Politics. This is all about in regards to legislation, politics, about that for housing matters.
I think the March turnout's been somewhat abysmal. The short answer is I just think, Republicans tend to be much better voters. They're more consistent and they show up. And then on the Democrat.
So as you can see, the latest episode, they were talking about the past in March. That was the primary election. So there was a discussion. And in this one, the speaker was Sanjay Whaley. Is also a CAR lobbyist. I believe his title is the Government Affairs Deputy. The other one that I highly recommended for commercial realtors is called American Commercial Real Estate Show. This is this is on I believe it's bi-weekly. And I just highly recommend people to start using it. Okay, thank you.
You get two tips, but you get two tips because we didn't go in the last meeting.
Good morning, WSGVR members and affiliates. Here's your bits and bytes tech tip from the Real Tech Committee. I have here this tool, this website called Title Toolbox from a company called Benutech. It's not specific to Orange Coast Title. Other title companies may have it. Really nice that they let you do this. You can basically cherry pick properties in any form, like you can pick neighbors' properties. You can pick properties in your neighborhood farm that look like a fixer. They could be people in your sphere of influence. You have to have the address though. So you can go around and pick all these properties and build your own custom list. And so to go ahead and do that, you're gonna click property search. And then I have just some random property because I don't want a nearby property that could be personal to someone here. So I'm gonna go ahead and just type in this address that I looked up far away, Northern California. Okay, and some property in Berkeley. So we look this up, we click search. And then right here, we have options when we click on this gear. We can come here and say new or append farm. So I'm gonna click this and then I'm gonna call this, I don't know, fixers, or you can call it whatever. It could be your very special list where you're adding just like one property here and there that you want to include in your marketing, right? So I'm going to click save. And then now that property has been added to the farm, I can add many properties to this farm. And then also I can come back and it's going to always show me the current status of that property. So right here, it says sold in. I'm going to just zoom in really quick. It says sold in the year, right? So we can come back to it and we can delete properties as well that may have sold recently. And then whenever we're ready to look at that farm, we just click on the farming section right here, go to saved farms. And that list is right here, the fixer farm that I just started to make. So here's your tip. Have a great day.
I just want to say the only thing worse than listening to your own voice is listening to it in front of a group of people.
Those are very good tips. So You know, please join us next week as our membership special event committee. We have the Cinco de Mayo thing that Brandon just mentioned. Thank you for joining our meeting today. Have a wonderful day. The meeting is now adjourned.